Genealogy on the go. Now this is a subject which changes very quickly. In fact, let's just look at what I like to call the good news and the bad news. The good news is that several years ago, if I were to talk about taking your genealogy with you, I would be talking about this. Okay, now this is kind of an exaggeration, but I still remember as a young child going with my parents to the family history library in Salt Lake and seeing these older, mature ladies carrying boxes and carts of papers and books with them, dragging them down the sidewalk and into the library and planting them at their table, and then just basically staying there all day and then packing up and leaving in the evening. And so really that was what genealogy on the go used to mean. Today, genealogy on the go can mean something as small and as simple as a USB drive. Yeah, so there's the good news, that we've gone from this to this. The bad news is that while we've gone to this, we've also gone to all of these. And so the options and all the different technologies that allow you to take your genealogy on the go are many and varied. And it can be very overwhelming trying to learn or make sense or figure out all of these solutions. And it's made even more complicated by the fact that these are changing and evolving at a very fast rate. Okay, so it's very hard to keep up with. So my invitation to you is that in tonight's presentation, I'm going to be talking about a lot of varied technologies. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I don't want you to just think, oh, I can't learn all that, and just throw your hands up and just cancel out of the webinar. What I do want you to do is to just watch and listen as I skim over these technologies and pick one thing that looks interesting to you, one thing that you think could be useful to you, and then after this webinar, go, and you're already at home, but go and try to learn more and maybe even implement and use one of these tools that's available. But by no means do you need to master or look at everything that I'm going to show you. Okay? So I don't want any complaints that this is overwhelming. Just focus on, try to make it your goal to find one thing that you can work with. Okay. That said, let's look at these signs. I'm going to be giving you a lot of advice, and some of it may be confusing, possibly even conflicting. Okay, but just keep in mind, you're just looking for one tool that interests you that you can use and improve the way that you take your genealogy with you. Okay, let's start with the tried and true laptops and netbooks. Okay, now you've probably heard about a laptop computer, and you've probably heard the term netbook computer. A netbook computer is simply a smaller laptop computer, smaller in size. It's less powerful, but because of its size and having a less powerful processor, it has a longer battery life. So it's a little bit more portable and mobile than a full-size laptop. The cost of a netbook is usually between $200 and $400. Okay? A full-size laptop, they are larger in size, they're more powerful, but because they're more powerful, they usually have more memory, bigger hard drives, faster processors. They also have a shorter battery life. And a full laptop will also cost more. You could spend anywhere between $400 and even say $2,500 for a laptop computer. Okay, so these are the basic specs, the difference between a netbook and a laptop. And even the people who manufacture and make netbooks and laptops aren't really sure where the border between the two are. I mean, there are some laptops that are very small, and there are netbooks which are very powerful. So, so it's hard to really say where one begins and where one ends. Now, that said, how do you choose which one you want? Well, keep in mind that any laptop or notebook computer or netbook computer available today is powerful enough for genealogy research. Okay, and that includes using your genealogy software, browsing the internet, searching Ancestry or Family Search, sending emails, writing documents, and so on. Any laptop or notebook computer available today is more than powerful enough for that. So what you need to do is set a budget, just decide how much you're willing to spend, and buy the most bang for your buck. Now, when you're trying to decide between a netbook and a laptop, you may need to consider one thing like me, and that is that I cannot personally use a netbook computer, and the simple reason is I have big hands. My hands are big, my fingers are big, and so a netbook computer with the smaller keys is much harder for me to type on and use. I need something that has a full-size keyboard. But many women, even my wife, with smaller hands, they are perfectly comfortable and they're able to use a netbook computer. So that's one thing that you may want to consider. Then also, I like to read reviews. Amazon.com, if you can find a model notebook that you're looking for, you can go onto Amazon, search for that model, and read reviews that other people have written about that particular model. Also, there's a really good website at www.notebookreview.com, and they really do a good unbiased job of looking at all the different models and manufacturers of notebooks and finding the best models and the fastest and the most reliable models of notebooks. Okay. Now, if you decide that you want to use a laptop or a netbook computer to take your genealogy with you, you will obviously want to take your files, your genealogy files, your pictures, your documents with you wherever you go. Well, you could either do the old method of using floppies or zip disks, or more recently using a USB flash drive to transfer files between your desktop computer and your laptop computer, or you can use some easily readily available software, free software, to help you synchronize files between your home desktop computer and your laptop computer. Two of the most famous and well-known solutions are called Dropbox and SugarSync. And there's been a lot of talk and presentations recently about using things like Dropbox for genealogy. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. Just suffice it to say that these programs you install on your desktop computer and on your laptop computer, and as you make changes, as you add or edit files on one computer, they're automatically transferred over the internet to the other computer, which makes working with the little floppies and transferring files back and forth, all that confusion, it can eliminate all of that. Okay, another tool that you may want to look at if you want to use a laptop computer is what is called remote desktop access. And really, this is very similar to what we're doing right now with this webinar, where I am running this software on my home computer right now, and what you are looking at, the audience, you are looking at the screen, what I can see on my desktop computer. In fact, if I move the mouse around, you'll see the mouse, and so on. Remote desktop access basically allows you to log in to another computer that you've installed special software on this other computer. Anywhere you are, you have an internet connection, you can log in to that computer. So I can install, say, Go to My PC or logmein.com. Both have subscription software. You pay just a few dollars a month, and you install this software on your computer, and anywhere I go, if I have an internet connection, I can open up a web browser and I can log in, and I will see my computer screen, my home computer screen, wherever I am. I can type, I can use the mouse, access all the files just as if I were at home using my home computer. Now, Go to My PC and Log Me In, as I said, those are subscription services. They do charge a rather small monthly fee to use them. Or there are ways, the remote desktop access is built into Windows and Mac OS X, but they take some setting up, and you need to know how to work through a router and set up connections like that. So that's usually for tech heads, but for most people it's definitely worth the convenience, worth a few dollars a month for the convenience of accessing your home computer by paying for Go to My PC or Log Me In. Okay, so let's move on to mobile phones and tablets. The differences between laptops and mobile devices. Okay, if you have, we're talking about the new smartphones or these tablet computers like an iPad that you may have seen, or small little computing devices like an iPod Touch. The difference between laptops and mobile devices, laptops are bigger and heavier, and mobile devices are smaller and more portable. In the case of a smartphone, it's something that you can carry around with you in your pocket. Laptops, they require some boot up time and some wake up time. In other words, you open it up, you turn it on, and it'll take a minute or so for it to come up before you can actually use the computer. Mobile devices are instant on. In other words, you pull it out of your pocket, you push a little button, and bam, it's right there, it's ready to use. Okay, laptops, being a full computer, it can run. It has the full operating system, whether it's Windows or Mac OS X, and you can run full-featured computer software on there. Whereas mobile devices, they are smaller, less powerful, and they work for lightweight, what are called apps, which is short for applications. And basically, what I have found, and what others have also observed, is that laptops and notebook computers are good for creating content, whereas mobile devices, they are better at consuming content. And what do I mean by the difference? What's the difference between create and consume? For example, typing an email. If you're writing an email to someone, it's much easier to write an email to someone on a laptop computer where you've got the big screen and you've got the full-size keyboard. That's not to say that you cannot write an email on a mobile device, but the smaller it is and you have to work with that little tiny keyboard or the little virtual keyboard, it's not as easy to do it. However, it's very easy to consume information on a mobile device because you get a text message or something, you just pull it out of your pocket, you push a button, and bam, you've got it right there ready to consume. You want to watch a movie, you've got it right there in your pocket, you just push a button and it's there. You want to look at your genealogy, boom, you push a button and you've got your genealogy right there. If you wanted to edit or add to your genealogy. Mobile devices, it's possible, but it's much more awkward to do, whereas it's easier to do with a laptop. So they both have important uses, and I use both. I use a laptop computer and a mobile device. Just the create versus consume, I think, is a very good way to describe when you would want to use one over the other. Okay, in terms of mobile devices, we're going to look at two different classes of devices. One is what's called iOS. That's by Apple. And those are the iPhones, the iPod Touches, and the bigger iPads. Now, these are usually newer devices. There are hundreds of thousands of these inexpensive apps or applications which are available for these devices. Usually these apps are either free or they're 99 cents, or if you really want something, you may spend $2 or $3 for it. The devices, these iOS devices, will range in price between $9 for a iPhone 3GS. I noticed that AT&T is now selling them with a contract for $9, or for the top-of-the-line iPad, those are $800. So good range of prices there. When you're working with an iOS device, there is what is called the App Store, which is maintained by Apple. But if you go to the App Store and type in the word genealogy, you will see that there's a wide selection of apps, which some of them are free, some of them are just a few dollars, that you can buy or download onto your device and have them with you. And let's look at just a few of them which are useful for taking your genealogy with you. First one is Mobile Tree. If you happen to have access to the new Family Search, the big collaborative family tree there, Mobile Tree is a little app for your phone which will allow you to download data from New Family Search. So you don't have to type anything in, you just enter a username and password. It pulls down the information from the internet and stores it on the device. And Mobile Tree costs $4.99. And you buy it through the App Store, but if you want more information, it's at mobiletree.me. There's another little app for the iPhone from Ancestry, and it's simply called Ancestry. And this is the Ancestry, Ancestry.com. And this app allows you to view and edit information from the Ancestry online trees. And many of you probably use that feature. And if you do, the app itself is free. You don't have to pay for it. You just download it and use it. But they'll get you with the subscription. You depending on the features and what access to records that you want to look at, you may need to pay for your Ancestry subscription, which is not free. But and that is also available in the App Store. Then one that I really like is called GEDView, and this allows you to view your genealogy. Basically, you can take your genealogy file, create a GEDCOM file from it, and load it onto your device. And basically, you have all the information, all the names, dates, relationships, notes are right there in your pocket. You can just pull it out at any time, look up a name, look up a date, anything you need. Now that costs $3.99, and it's available in the iPhone App Store. Okay, but Apple is not the only player in the game. Google has developed a mobile operating system called Android, and there are many different device manufacturers like Samsung or HTC which are making devices which run the Android operating system. There are quite a few apps for this, and the devices, including tablets. I don't have a picture of them, but there are some new tablets which run the Android system which have been coming out. and they cost between free and about $600. Android has, instead of an app store, they have what's called the Android Market, and you can go to the Android Market, type in the word genealogy, and you will see, you'll find a whole list, very similar to the iPhone App Store, of all these different apps that have to do with genealogy. Someone asked, can you download apps to a laptop? No, the apps are specifically designed for your iPhone or iPod or for your Android device. They will not run on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. Okay, and there is a genealogy app for Android devices called Family B. It allows you, just like GEDView, to save your information to a GEDCOM file, load it onto your device, and have access to that information anywhere you go. It costs $10 and is available from the Android Marketplace. There's also a program called GenStar Pro, and if any of you mobile device users used the old Palm Pilots or Palm PDAs from, seems like not that long ago, but it was a long time in terms of technology. Anyway, the Palm devices, there was a program which allowed you to load your GEDCOM file called GenStar Pro. Well, the makers of that for the Palm Pilot, they have evolved with the mobile devices, and they've created the version for the Android, and it allows you to load your either a TMG file or a legacy file or a GEDCOM file, and they have a program which runs on your desktop computer, converts it to their format, and loads onto the device. And the actual program that you install on your device is free, but the program to convert your data, which you have to have, costs $20. And that is also available from the Android Marketplace. Now, we talked about synchronizing files with your desktop computer. You can also do the same thing with your mobile device. Dropbox and SugarSync, they also have apps for iPhones, iPods, and Android devices, which will allow you to access your files and load them, synchronize them between your mobile device and your desktop computer, just like you would with your laptop. There are also apps which allow you to remotely access your desktop computer using your little mobile device. And both GoToMyPC and LogMeIn and others have created apps which allow you to do this. And I've used this several times. For example, I got a call once while I was on vacation in Disneyland that there's a problem on our web server, and I was able to, while standing in line for a ride, log in to the server just using my little phone in my pocket, and I could type. I had a little tiny keyboard. I could type in and move the mouse and run programs, and it was hard. It wasn't the easiest thing to do. I wouldn't want to work like that all day, but I was able to access it and do what I needed to do, and be on my way just standing in line there at Disneyland. Okay, now let's talk about, moving on from mobile devices, let's move on to e-book readers. And these, I contemplated whether I should put these in with mobile devices, but there's enough differences that I want to show you that I think it deserves its own classification. Okay, e-book readers, these are, well, the biggest example would be the Kindle from Amazon. Now, an e-book reader, like the Kindle, is designed to allow you to basically read books, magazines, and newspapers using a small tablet that you can take with you, and take the book with you and read it, and without having bookshelves full of books or stacks of newspapers. You can carry all of that in one tiny, lightweight tablet. Kindle only costs $139, and it makes a great gift for anyone you know that likes to read. Okay, they can just browse and buy books and download them right into their device and read it. But you can use the Kindle for genealogy, as we'll see. What makes the Kindle different than, say, an iPad or a tablet computer, or even there's a e-reader from Barnes & Noble called the Nook. But the thing that makes the Kindle different is that it uses a technology called e-paper. E-paper is a different type of screen. Instead of having a bunch of liquid crystals and a backlight like your computer monitor or your phone or any of these small portable devices use, it uses a substance which is very much like paper with ink that can change on the page. The result is something that is easily read in sunlight. Okay, if you ever try to use your phone out in where it's bright in the sunlight, it washes out the screen. You can barely make it out. Very hard to read and use, but the Kindle doesn't have that problem, and it's very easy on the eyes, so it feels like you're looking at paper. That's really the best way to describe it. You're looking at paper. Okay. Now, you can, while there are no apps like a genealogy app for the Kindle, like you would for an Android or iOS device, you can, with not too much work, get your genealogy from your computer onto your Kindle. And this is how you do it. Right now, this is in Roots Magic. I've loaded up my file, and I've created a narrative report. You'll see I've got generations of ancestors for Dr. James Smith. And there's James Smith right there at the top with his information, his notes, and it moves on through all the generations. I could also have pedigree charts and family group sheets, anything I wanted. I can set up the options for a book. All I have to do is click Publish, and it'll come up on this screen. And then I just click Save, and I save it as an Acrobat PDF file. And then every Kindle device has its own email address. And all I have to do is email this PDF file that I created in Roots Magic. I just email it to my Kindle. And this is what it looks like. I now have the narrative report, and all the genealogy and notes and pictures that I had in Roots Magic are here, right here on my Kindle. Very easy to use. And the nice thing about this on the Kindle is if I'm doing something, say, outdoors, like I'm visiting cemeteries or a family reunion, this is much more readable and portable than some of the other devices that we've looked at. Okay. Now, the next thing beyond the e-book readers is flash drives and portable drives. And this is probably one of the easiest, if you aren't, and least expensive ways to take your genealogy with you. Okay, it's relatively low tech compared to some of the other solutions we've looked at, but I would wager that most of you out there already have a flash drive or a portable hard drive, and so this is something that you could easily do. Flash drives are inexpensive. I have seen just in back to school special, Walmart had a 16 gigabyte flash drive for less than $10. They are small, they're portable, they are durable. I've run mine through the laundry. they do require a computer to use. Okay, everything else that we've looked at so far has been a standalone device, but this does require a computer. It doesn't do you any good to just have a flash drive in your pocket with nothing to use it with. Flash drives are usually used to transport data, but using specially designed software, they can also be used to run actual programs and take programs with you, not just the data. One example of this may be U3. And if you've ever bought a SanDisk USB drive, these little flash drives, you've probably seen the little U3 logo. And a lot of people hate U3 because you plug in your SanDisk drive, and not only do you get that drive, it mounts this little virtual CD-ROM drive, and you're like, what is this U3? I just want to get rid of it. I want to uninstall it, which you can do. But there are some useful things that you can do with U3. There is software which is designed for U3 which can be installed and run right off of the flash drive. That means that it is not going to leave any traces on the computer that you plug it into. You don't have to install it on the computer in order to use it. This is useful if you're visiting like computer labs or cafes or family history centers or libraries. Anytime you have a public computer that you're not allowed to install software on, it helps if you can take that software with you. You don't have to install it, you just run it right off the flash drive. U3 enabled programs, you can see there in that little menu, there's Skype, there's a synchronizing program, there's McAfee virus protection, there's a Sudoku game, there is OpenOffice, so a word processor and a spreadsheet, there is Firefox, so your web browser, you can take that with you. Just a bunch of different programs which are designed for U3 specifically to run on this system. Okay. There is a free alternative to U3 that will work on any flash drive, and those are called portable apps. And you can go to portableapps.com. The main difference here is it's a little less obtrusive than U3. It's not doing all this fancy virtual CD type thing. It'll work on any flash drive, not just U3 labeled flash drives, or any portable hard drive for that matter. But it does require that you install the software onto the portable drive, so it takes just a few more steps of work than the U3. But it has, just like U3, a large assortment of software that you can take with you, such as OpenOffice, Firefox, some note software, Sudoku, media player software, and so on. And that is available at portableapps.com. Now, in terms of genealogy software, Roots Magic, who, disclaimer, of course, I work for Roots Magic, but one of the things that I'm really excited about, not just as a developer, but as a user of Roots Magic, is this feature called Roots Magic to Go. Now, this comes with your Roots Magic software, and Roots Magic to Go allows you to install Roots Magic onto your flash drive or your portable hard drive, and also it takes care of transferring the data from your computer to your portable drive, and when you're about to go someplace, and then when you come back, you just plug it in and run Roots Magic to Go to transfer the data back from your flash drive to your home desktop computer. And Roots Magic is the only genealogy software that has a feature like this that will allow it to run off of the flash drive and to transfer the data back and forth like that. And Roots Magic, it is $29.95, and it's available at rootsmagic.com. Okay, so that is all the material I wanted to cover. Let's look at some of these questions that people have. Okay, let's see. Someone asked, Deborah asked, I still don't see the link for the handout. Could you please post it here? And the link itself, let me...
Yeah, Michael, I posted it. I answered it in the question, answered the question.
Oh, okay.
And I also posted it. You know, it's down in the chat, right up near the top.
Okay.
In the chat box.
So if you look down in the chat window and scroll all the way to the top, you'll see it. It's http://db.tt/2bf5emr. So it's that little cryptic link.
Yeah.
But if you click on that, that'll take you to a PDF version of the handout for tonight's presentation. Let's see. Bev asked, is it possible to use Dropbox or SugarSync with Family Tree software? Absolutely. They both have slightly different ways of going about doing it. Dropbox basically creates one folder called My Dropbox, and any file you put into that folder is automatically synchronized. And so you can put in, you know, for example, if I'm using Roots Magic, I'll just keep my Roots Magic data files in my Dropbox folder, and then when I edit them, they're just automatically synchronized. Now, you cannot edit them. One thing about this file synchronizing software, you cannot edit them in two places at once. It's not going to keep both
muted
of the changes. So in other words, don't work on your desktop computer or your laptop at the same time doing that. Okay, Judith asked, do Dropbox and SugarSync encrypt your data? Okay, that is a good question. If you've paid attention to the news, you'll have seen that a few weeks ago that Dropbox, they had for a few hours, there was a software glitch that allowed access to data files without using a password. Now, that doesn't mean that someone could just download all of the data files. They would have to have known, one, that this vulnerability existed at the time, and two, they would have had to have known exactly the link and how to get in and access those files. So, but it did show us that Dropbox at the time, they were not encrypting the data, that if you wanted it encrypted, you would have to do it yourself. SugarSync, I'm not certain if they encrypt your data or not. I know both of them encrypt the data as it's transferred over the internet, but as for encrypting it when it's actually stored on their computers, I do not know. Okay, let's see. Dale asked, I have an Acer notebook and I have Family Tree Maker loaded on it. What do you think of taking this with you, even though it's only a little bit bigger than an iPad? I think that is great. I mean, you've got the netbooks, which are small and lightweight, and even Mac. Apple has these little MacBook Airs, which are very small and lightweight. And those are great to take with you. And like I said, the big difference is that create versus consume. If you're going to be someplace like at the library where you want to be typing in additional information or adding it, then a laptop or a very lightweight laptop is the way to go. If you're going to be at a family reunion or someplace where you want to be able to have quick access to your data and just be able to pull up names very quickly, not necessarily adding information, then an iPad or an iPhone, iPod would be the better solution. Okay. Teresa had a question about the e-reader, I assume the Kindle, and said, is it PDFs or anything you can make changes to? Okay. The Kindle, it requires, I know that there are other formats that you can send to it, but the easiest, most reliable one is a PDF. And it's also easily made from your genealogy software, like you saw. I made it in Roots Magic. The PDF isn't editable, but you don't edit information on an ebook reader anyway. Margie Shannon asked, what type of portable scanner would you recommend? Okay, to that I would say look at FlipPal. I have a FlipPal. I don't know if you've had a chance to see those. Those are at flippal.com, and they are tiny portable scanners with a little window that it can scan about a 5x7, I think, is the size of the surface that it can scan. But you can scan larger documents, and it'll stitch them all together for you into one bigger picture. And Patricia asked, are there programs that work with the Palm OS to synchronize between devices and a desktop? That's a blast from the past. I'm not sure if you mean the old Palm OS devices or the new Web OS, which was developed by Palm and was acquired by Hewlett-Packard. If you're talking about the old Palm devices, yeah, there's that GenStar Pro, which is one that I used way back then.
Yeah, she says Web OS and a follow-up.
Oh, yeah.
Patricia.
Web OS. Okay, so the Web OS, I am not familiar with any genealogy apps for Web OS yet. There may be. Last time I checked, there weren't, but that may have changed. I know Hewlett-Packard bought Palm, and they've taken over this Web OS, and they've been putting a big push in it for developers, and it's not quite the same scale as the Apple or Android, but it does have its followers.
Adelia asked a follow-up question, is FlipPal allowed in National Archives and museums? And I don't know what the experience has been on that. So, you with me?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just talked. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Yep. FlipPal, I'm not sure. If anyone has had any experience with that, pipe up. Type that in and let us know.
Yeah, I don't know. I imagine that the same policies might apply to digital cameras. Most places a lot of places will let you take a digital camera if you don't use any external light, but not all. And so, but it would be nice to know NARA's attitude on this for sure, in some of the bigger libraries.
Yeah, the FlipPal would probably be a little bit more intrusive than a camera because it's a scanner, so you actually have to rest it against the surface, and then it does have the scanner light.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So
okay, and while we're on scanners, Patricia asked, have you ever used a wand-type scanner, and how easy and effective are they to use?
I haven't used well, at least not recently, I haven't used a wand-type scanner. It's been several years since I used one, and at the time, the big problem that I had was moving it over at a consistent rate, and so the resulting scanned image, because I can't move it side to side perfectly straight, so the resulting image was all bumpy and kind of distorted. So I didn't have good luck with it back then, but it may have improved. But the FlipPal doesn't have that problem. I know that.
Right, right. Let's see, there was a follow-up from Dahlia related to the notebooks versus other devices. What are the pros and cons of using a notebook when going to Europe rather than some of the mobile devices? I guess that is. So you want to respond to that one?
I don't know that it makes much of a difference whether you are in Europe or the United States with these devices, except for the data plan.
Yes.
When you're using like your iPhone, it's tying into AT&T's network. Now, the network that AT&T uses happens to be the same as the network, the type of technology that they have over in Europe, and I know people have been able to just either their phones just connect over there, they just insert a new SIM card or something, and so they're able to get data over there in Europe. I haven't done that myself, but if you're using a notebook computer, you're going to be using probably a Wi-Fi connection, and I have heard that Europe has a lot more public Wi-Fi hotspots than we're used to over here, that there are a lot more of them over in Europe. And so even then, my iPhone, even if I don't have a data plan, it can use Wi-Fi. So I would think that whether you're using a notebook or a phone, if you have access to a Wi-Fi network, you'll have internet connection.
Yeah, that was basically my experience in a recent trip to Spain. So, yeah, it's good to you know, if you've got something that'll connect to Wi-Fi, you're in pretty good shape. Not to mention there's still a lot of internet cafes around Europe. I think more than you see in the States these days. Let's see. There's a comment down near the bottom about the wand-type scanners from Teresa. They have improved dramatically. Pretty easy to use now, and I think I've seen a couple of good reviews of them. So, you know, it might pay to check them out. But certainly the FlickPal is a pretty cool device. Let's see. I don't see much else here. Any other questions here? Well, let me scan through here once more. I didn't see much come up on the chat side. Okay, let's see. It's close to 7 o'clock. I guess anybody else want to ask a question or raise their hands or anything? Otherwise, I certainly thank Michael for the material that he presented this evening, and it certainly have learned a few things and gotten a few ideas myself. Oh, here's somebody came through. Just a second. And particularly the e-reader idea and the fact of uploading something to Kindle. I hadn't thought of that one, but I'll be trying it. And let's see. Oh, Dali asked one more question. Can you give us a little more about synchronizing computers? That's always an interesting subject.
Yeah, the synchronizing computers. It's basically both Dropbox and SugarSync. If you go there to the websites, they both have free versions where they'll give you a certain amount of storage space for free. I think I think they may both be about 2 gigabytes of space for free, which if you're dealing with pictures, you're going to want more than 2 gigabytes. But if you're just dealing with genealogy, that's more than enough space. And so basically anything you install the little Dropbox or SugarSync program on your home computer and on your laptop, and anytime you add a file or delete a file or change a file on your desktop computer, Dropbox just sits there in the background, and then it takes that file and it sends it up to its servers, or in the cloud as it's sometimes called. And so this file is sitting up in your own little virtual floppy disk on the internet. And then when you turn on your laptop computer, as long as it's connected to the internet, it'll connect to Dropbox, and Dropbox will say, oh, hey, here's this file that was added to the desktop computer. Why don't you take it and add it to at it as well, and so that file will appear on your laptop computer as well. And that's the basic idea behind the file synchronizing programs.
Okay, let me see here. There was one that I'd missed that I ran into looking back over the attendee list. How do I download just the data files from Roots Magic? I guess that's the basic .rmgc. But why don't you go ahead?
Oh yeah, yeah. Roots Magic will just all your genealogy will be in one file. It'll be .rmgc. And so if you just copy or move that RMGC file into your Dropbox folder, it'll automatically be synchronized.
Okay, let's see. There was a.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Margie just asked. She knows Dropbox doesn't sync automatically. You do have to download and install the Dropbox program. So it's a very small little program that just runs in the background. Same thing with SugarSync. But you do have to install that on every computer that you want to synchronize with, and you can have multiple computers.
Yeah, that's the advantage. Yeah, do you enter Dropbox on each computer? Well, basically, if you put it into the My Dropbox folder in your My Documents, I guess that's where it defaults to anyway. Then it syncs up. Whenever you make an internet connection, you'll get a little message on the little. You'll either see a rotating blue circle, or you'll see all files up to date when you hover over the little Dropbox icon down there by your clock on the whatever that little field is called.
Right.
Let's see.
And Jen asked, do you think the iPad is okay for just dedicated genealogy? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, Jen, but are you asking whether you can use an iPad, just an iPad without a computer for genealogy? If that's the case, you sort of can. There are some programs out there, some apps that will allow you to enter information in. But as I said, in my experience using mobile devices and tablets like an iPad, you can type information in. So I could use it to type a few names and dates into it, but to type notes or anything or very much into it, I'd either need to get an external keyboard to work with it or something like that. But I just find that it's a little bit more cumbersome for creating data, especially genealogy, and typing all that up.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, yes, Debbie said, could you repeat the link for the handout? The one given pulls up screens from presentation. I believe that's what that file contained, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we have. I discovered that myself when I checked the link just before we went on the air here.
And that's it.
Okay. Let's see. There was, well, I think that's it. I'm just looking through this. There's another way to find unanswered questions, but I think we covered them all. And so I want to thank you very much, Michael. It was very informative, and we had maxed out at about 80 attendees, I think, and one they were from all over the world for sure. We had one that had to sign out a little while ago. She says, "Thank you so much for the webinar. Have to get back to work. Cheers, Karen in New Zealand." So nice to have an international audience here. Anyway, we'll say good evening to all, and we're signing off from Ogden, Utah, and La Crescenta in Southern California. Thank you all for attending, and we'll be stopping the presentation at this time.
Thanks, Jay.